number one wrestling company in the world.
Yep.
If the number one wrestling company in the world doesn't have their you-know-what together, what does that say about the wrestling industry as a whole?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Chris Featherstone here with yet another episode of Riding with Russo. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend. He is former WCW World Heavyweight Champion, the Big Gold Belts, Vince Russo. Vince, how are you, man?
What's up, Doctor? What's going on, my friend?
Man, we've got some WrestleMania predictions to talk about. Yesterday, very nice. Spit shine, your hands ready to rock and roll.
Bro, do you think, let me ask you a question. It concerns WrestleMania. Bro, do you think anybody at WWE, do you think they've discussed a backup plan? God forbid Cody were to get hurt.
Heck no. No.
I was thinking about that today, bro. Right. If Cody gets hurt, like, where are they?
So from what I've heard, Lesnar Reigns was like discussed, like mildly discussed. It was lightly discussed. And so basically Omos is, from what I heard, Omos was down the line. So it was like they were trying to figure out something for Lesnar. So this is rumors. This is the rumors that I've heard. So Leslie, so it was supposed to be Lashley, Lesnar, Lesney and Lashley and Lesnar at WrestleMania. So made sense. The trilogy was going to be WrestleMania. And so rumored Austin was lightly discussed to be an opponent for Lesnar. And so basically they hot shot that at Elimination Chamber because, of course, it's a bigger ticket item for Austin Lesnar, right? And so that was shot down. That never really, grew, legs or anything. And so they're like, so I heard Reigns was an option. That was declined. That was shot down. Then I heard Gunther. They talked about Gunther for a second, like late last year, and so they had the stare down at Royal Rumble to just tease that, and so they don't think Gunther's ready yet. They're more apt for him to build himself and that be a match next year around this time, and so that was shot down. So X on Austin, X on Gunther, and then X on Reigns. And then Wyatt was the latest option that was discussed. So they went down the line. No. Wyatt, no. Let's see. Omos, are you cool with just a few minutes, give him an F5, you know what I mean, and just kind of.
Bro, can you imagine a Major League Baseball manager trying to fill out a lineup card like this? Can you imagine, bro? Like, what would that team look like if this is how they fill out a lot?
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, this is, to me, and I had this conversation before. I was like, this is the reason why stuff like this matters when you need to build a story and you need to give it some time. Yeah. Because right now, there's a potential gap in WrestleMania, and Bobby Lashley, the guy who was one of that was one of the biggest names on Raw, you threw him over to Wyatt because a theorized or a potential match against Austin Reigns, Gunther, failed. So you hot shot that a month before when you could have just easily done the payoff for WrestleMania. Now that leaves Lashley in the cold because of all the people who didn't work out for Lesnar. Instead of going back to Lashley, you're just like, oh man, like, yeah, we did that Elimination Chamber already, guys. Sorry. We just got to throw somebody over for Omos. Okay, so lastly, we'll just throw Wyatt at you. Oh, now he's injured, so there's a good chance that he might not be there. So therefore, Lashley might not even have a spot at WrestleMania. How in the world are we doing this right before WrestleMania?
Chris, I got to tell you, bro, and I hate to say this, but I said it while I was in it. Bro, wrestling executives are not the brightest people in the world, bro. I'm telling you, man, they're not the brightest people in the world. And we are looking at what we're talking about here is the number one wrestling company in the world.
Yep.
If the number one wrestling company in the world doesn't have their you-know-what together, what does that say about the wrestling industry as a whole? I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Like, really, man. Come on.
It's super niche, man. It's niche for a reason now, because at the end of the day, I got into wrestling 30, almost 40 years ago because of stories. Because of stories and characters. That's what got me into liking the business, man.
And Chris, here's what we're talking about. I'm going to talk about your favorite thing now, Ohio State football. But we could talk about Ohio State football, bro. We could talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We could talk about the New York Mets. You could talk about any franchise, sports franchise in the world. What's the one thing, bro, that you gotta have to win? You gotta have depth. Because people are going to get hurt, and especially wrestling, because wrestling, it's not just getting hurt. Wrestling, it's getting hurt. Wrestling, it's contracts expiring.
Right.
Wrestling, it's negotiations breaking down. Wrestling, it's politics. Wrestling, you're in the doghouse. In sports, it's injury. Yeah. But what do you always say, bro? Everybody deals in injuries, so you gotta have the depth. Where's the depth here, bro? Where is the depth here, man?
We see it, Vince. We see the depth. What we see right now, Vince, is going down the line, reaching Omos, and then all of a sudden, now you have Lashley being thrown in a feud with Bray Wyatt. And back to your depth point, now Bray Wyatt's potentially out. Now there's nothing. There's nothing for Bobby Lashley at this point. And like, what are they going to do? Uncle Howdy? Like, are they going to do Lashley versus Uncle Howdy? It wouldn't surprise me if they did that, actually.
Chris, when you think about it, like, seriously, bro, do you know how screwed up things have to be to get to this point?
Yeah, man.
Like, serious, like, I swear to God, it's like, how did you ever get here?
Yeah. It's like you've mentioned this before. Like, so back in the Attitude Era, we've seen this even in an era right after you, Ruthless Aggression in 02, and even before you, with when it came to like the Golden Era, the New Generation and stuff like that. So we had the moneymaker, we had the primary or the biggest name. But you had supporting cast members that if that person were to go, that person can step right up. Yep. And you had so many characters that were strong enough to do that. For instance, WrestleMania 4. Hogan was the man. Hogan stepped away. Who stepped in as the top babyface? Savage, right? He won the tournament. Hogan still showed his face. He was still involved in the last match. Hogan had to get his WrestleMania payday by being in Savage's corner, but he stepped away, and it was a good transition. It was a really good transition. WrestleMania 3, just a year before, Savage was a major heel, feuding against Ricky Steamboat, had a match with him. They transitioned Savage more into a babyface. He ends up winning the tournament, being champ for a year, and then at the turn of the year, then that's when the Mega Powers explode. Elizabeth, lustful eyes, so telling Hogan he's got lustful eyes, brother. And so that leads, basically it was a year build because Hogan stepped away as the top baby face. Savage stepped in, and it wasn't an awkward transition.